Good afternoon from India and a warm welcome to everyone joining us. Welcome to the second session of the second midterm conference of the International Sociological Association's Working Group 10 Digital Sociology. I am Mayurakshi Chaudhary, member of the Faculty of Sociology at Flame University, Pune, and a board member of WG10 Digital Sociology. It is my absolute honor to chair today's session. We have two stellar papers lined up for this session, followed by a floor for discussion. To give you a quick overview of today's presentations, our first paper is by Alejandro Artopoulos from Universidad San Andres, Argentina. And the title of his paper is AI Under Dispute, the Social Construction of AI Between Business, Power, Knowledge, and Our Shared Futures. Our second paper is by Fernando Balieiro from UFCAT, UFU, Brazil. His work is titled Mediatization, Framing, and Power in the Digital Age. Our discussant today is my esteemed colleague from the WG10 board, Attila Martin, from the Copenhagen Business School, Denmark. Attila, before we begin, may I please invite you to say a few words and briefly introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to join this conversation. Very briefly, I'm a sociologist by training, and I am in the Department of Digitalization, which is a highly interdisciplinary approach to digital transformation of society at the Copenhagen Business School. And my primary interest is in how we can move sociological thinking, research, and theorization forward so we can address the digital whatever that. Thank you.
Thank you, Attila. I would now like to invite our first presenter, Alejandro Artopoulos, to present his paper on AI and Dispute, the social construction of AI between business, power, knowledge, and our shared futures. Alejandro, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Mahshwarasi, I want to thanks the International Sociology Association and this working group for having me, and welcome. These papers draw in a work in progress paper. The central argument is about how generative AI function as a socio-technical system that amplify an imaginary, a socio-technical imaginary that constructs political hegemony, and how this affects different fields of the social activity and the functioning of society as a whole. But first, I want to share with you the context of this research. The main concern of our research project financed by the Uruguayan government and Fundación Ceibal is about AI literacy for teachers and how we create new ways to prepare train the teachers for future AI courses. So we started with this problem of AI literacy, and we saw that AI is presented as a new event, but in sociological theory, we know that AI is under the door for several years as a medium, as a social media platforms, as a stealth technology, as invisible to radar. And the pandemic amplified that experience, especially in education. But ChatGPT flipped the switch and AI became a narrative event, not just a technological one. So our interest is how does this narrative operates culturally beyond politics when we design AI literacy professional development course for teachers. we reach a wall, the wall of common sense, the same wall that, for example, Paulo Freire reached when he decided to develop the literacy method for vulnerable people under the logic of the oppressed. So we find that this platform pattern creates a field that works with a technical invention that projects a socio-material diffusion of the construction of the hegemony. So our main question is, what is the new field of social critical literacy? So where the three following questions are, first, how were the power effects of AI socio-technical imageries constructed in business and political landscape and affects the other domains of social life? Which social actors participate in this translation of AI across domains? And what alternative for action do AI controversies open up? Well, our conceptual architecture, the theoretical framework of our research lies on 5 domains. The main the starting point is AI literacy, with different researchers that develop the capacity of critically understand AI and evaluate them for education. And then we move to socio-technical imaginaries, of course, the socio-techniques of AI, and the platform capitalism of mainly Van Dijk, Lindholm, and Fisher. So then we connect socio-technical imaginaries with the concept of hegemony, and try to understand why this hegemony, this new hegemony, is constructed. So the first step was to reconstruct the genealogy of the ideas that are presented in the public narrative of AI. And we find first 3 actors, main actors: tech entrepreneurs like Sam Altman or Elon Musk. Second, ideologists of the Californian ideology that lies behind the ideas of these tech entrepreneurs. And finally, the media amplification, how journalists amplify these messages of the narrative in the conviction of rich audiences in social media, for example. So it's a recursive operation. So in this relationship, we connect the past of Californian ideology with the present of the construction of the narrative. Our methodology, of course, is a theory-driven paper, but we have a methodology that combines STS discourse analysis with genealogical reconstruction, as I said, and mainly controversy mapping follows the Narayanan and Kapoor theoretical framework that try to distill the EA controversies around different areas, as I will present in the next slides. The main structure of this methodology is separates 2 dimensions: the symbolic dimension of the imaginary, the social technical imaginary, and the social material infrastructure. So we connect different aspects of the social material infrastructure of AI and platforms with different narratives and actions of social actors that operates in the symbolic superstructure. For example, one issue is, for example, hyperpolarization, and how the construction of news and narratives are entwined with the transferring symbolic asymmetries into a material plane, because this symbolic construction has material consequences that reinforce the perception that AI is already dominant, but is, as we said, just a construction of illusion. So this genealogy of the hegemon, we find the origins in a paper about Californian ideology in the 90s, when the mood of the Silicon Valley changed from left-wing ideas or anarchic ideas to far-right or libertarian techno-determinist framework. And then we find other origins like Nick Land and CCRU unit of in the UK, in Warwick, that creates the line of accelerationism. And these combine, create the reactionary networks we have today, like ideologies like Thiel, Peterson, Yarvin, and how these turn in a political movement. So these tech magnates like Elon Musk became central political actors, and the connection with the political activity is really obvious. So, but the problem is how to connect with the social material dimension. So, for that, we work on different AI controversies that affects the narrative as structural limits. So we have some examples of that. First, for example, autonomous vehicles that we have, for example.
I'm terribly sorry, Alejandro. Can I just interrupt? I'm terribly sorry. We may have a technological glitch. Do you go through slides?
Sorry.
Because we are still on
the other.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
Well, I go for the slide I am working on right now.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we could figure that out.
Sorry. I think that I will change in the right one. So, well, here I am.
So it's easier now to follow. Thank you, and I'll be back.
Okay. Well, up to now it's just text, but now I will show you some images and evidence about the problem of, for example, autonomous vehicles. Well, in this case, we are showing, for example, different events on the attack on autonomous vehicles, both private vehicles and robotaxis or services in US cities. But also we have other controversies like the prediction failures of the radiology replacement by the AI, or the rise of LLMs hallucinations that are in the core of the controversy between Anthropic and the Pentagon. So this capability reliability gap that science Narayanan and Kapoor are in the center of the limits, structural limits of AI as a social material infrastructure. So at this point, we can see that this binary discourse, the discourse of accelerationism, and the confront of the humanist critic of this discourse, accelerationism discourse, are a double blind of this binary discourse, because both fit the hegemon by sharing the premise of inevitability of AI, of general AI, for example, as a promise, not just a reality. And the controversies show us the problems of reach this general AI. So at this point, we can think or point to different fields of contestation in society, in rather than waiting for a counter narrative to defeat accelerationism. The productive strategy is to mine these four sides of controversy, each expose a structural limit of generative AI, and well, we have some examples of that in education, in work and labor, and also in mental health, for example. Well, first, in mental health, we can find the mental health crisis among children and teens that trigger policies like the yesterday Prime Minister of UK banning social media, that follows other countries like Australia and France and Spain. But this is related also with other manifestations of contestations that are not just policies, the reaction of collectives, like in the case of the universities of the US, you can find the students booing speakers that laudates AI as the future, inevitability future. And that is a pattern because we have a lot of events like that. And finally, well, the problem inside the big tech companies. Here I am showing a collective of tech workers that unite against the use of AI technology for surveillance. This is an spontaneous union, but it's not just syndicalism, it's a political manifestation. So these are different domains of contestation, and how this narrative or hegemon is fighted in the symbolic, but also in policy. So, well, finally, I reached these conclusions. Well, first, the main issue here is that we find that AI as a socio-technical system needs an imaginary of inevitability. And this inevitability works in the field of future, of the construction and symbolic construction of future. This also, of course, construct hegemony not only in the business field, also in policy and politics, but also in the cultural field. So when we go to, for example, education, we find that teachers are blocked by this inevitability of the future. Um, so we not can work on a new imaginary or diverse imaginaries about the future of schooling or students or society as a whole. So the problem is to find ways to go to alternatives of this. So in the area of empirical research, we find very interesting to dig in the genealogy of these ideas of accelerationism, but also the connection between accelerationism and far right in global south. We need to dig more into that because Californian ideology is an issue in the US, in especially in the STS studies research, but not we don't have. It's very local because it's internal of the US, but we need to connect how this ideology go global in the global south. The other thing, the other area of research is mapping AI controversies in different fields and connect these fields together, because the contestation of students in the university is related with labor, with the future of labor. These kids are sick of listen to AI as a fixed future, and they they think we need new alternatives, and it's real and it's connected with the experience of schooling and university. But also we need to connect education with mental health, because all policies, social policies, and educational policies finally are in twin or connected with mental health issues because of algorithms, because of social media, and also AI. So it's very interesting to dig in. And finally, the final area is how to use these findings in the action of expert activism. So the identification of this humanist critique as a mirror of a structure of accelerationism triggers or open a debate inside politics that are really hard to face, but we need to go beyond these obscure alternative futures and open up a diverse landscape of the construction of the shared futures. In this case, we are facing or witnessing a lot of different methodologies that are in the sociological field, especially speculative methods that unlock the structure of collective action, especially in education and educational institutions. So this unlocking of the structure is related with future literacies. That is an issue in the educational field, especially UNESCO goes for that. But we need a more grassroots view of that, working with both future literacies, functional literacy, like Paulo Freire, and AI critical literacy, because we find that in order to go on a AI truly critical literacy, we need to work with future literacies first with teachers and then with students. So, well, thank you, and we continue with the questions and comments.
Thank you, Alejandro, for what a powerful presentation that was, connecting the dots of AI, pedagogy, business, shared future. Very engaging, very interesting. Next, I invite the next presenter, Fernando Balieiro, to present his work on mediatization, framing, and power in the digital age. Fernando, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for accepting my proposal. I would ask Brayla to share my slides, please. I'm presenting here the paper Mediatization, Framing, and Power in the Digital Age. My main goal here is to present a theoretical approach on media framing in the digital era. So I depart from the assumption that digital technologies have become central to communicative life in society, and many current social and political conflicts can be analyzed as framing disputes in a dense media environment. In the digital era, communicative disputes have become more complex and dynamic, shaped by the commercial logic of digital platforms, a new socio-technical infrastructure, and the media culture developed within it. Therefore, frame construction is now shaped by a new infrastructure, a new media ecosystem, and reconfigured social dynamics. The main reference in frame analysis is the Canadian sociologist Irving Goffman. In Goffman's work, frames provide the structure underlying subjective perception and intersubjective negotiation around what is happening. His concept was important through a field of study divided in three fronts: media sociology, political communication studies, the sociology of social movements. Media sociology, as well as political communication studies, emphasizes the power of media in frame construction. Robert Entman is a key author who conceptualized media framing as an analytical category. And the sociology of social movements emphasizes frame construction in collective action as part of disputes among social movements, media, and the states. Benford and Snow are the key authors in this field of study, and frames are here related to ideological aspects within a given society. Frames are not merely a strategic construction, it's a construction shaped by social and cultural conditions. In both fields, framing analysis seeks to understand how elites impose certain views of reality, how those views are socially disputed, and how they are co-produced by mass media. These studies are grounded in a context in which mass media formed the basis of national public spheres. So, I'm emphasizing here the need for a new agenda on media framing studies, or at least new glances on this theme, departing from digital sociology. Frame construction is now affected by platformization and deep mediatization, the concept developed by Caldry and Happ. Internet use is increasingly concentrated on digital platforms, which are characterized by the constant monitoring of daily activities to personalize user experience. the consequences of news framing. So the first point to consider is the consequences on news media framing. When news media outlets migrated to digital spaces and also to social network platforms. News frame construction undergoes important institutional changes under the pressure of immediacy and competition for visibility and consumption of individualized news. The digital news report from the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism. The data was gathered between 2018 to 2025, shows a decline in print news consumption, the smartphone's consolidation as the main device for accessing news, competition between journalists and influencers, and the rise of TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as information sources. These trends have increasingly consolidated the importance of audiovisual information. And the changes go beyond. Platformization places professional journalism alongside actors that operate according to logics that encourage spectacularization and sensationalism, including shocking images, exaggerated language, clickbait, headlines, infotainment, bias, and partisanship. Platformization brings the breakdown of the journalistic monopoly and the emergence of amateur competitors in the construction and dissemination of information. Social network platforms allow users to edit and communicate with any recipient, reducing the role of journalistic gatekeeping and enabling all potential users to be independent authors with equal rights. Quoting here Habermas. Manuel Castells called these features mass self-communication, marked by the proliferation of narratives and images that serve as raw material for framing disputes. These transformations have expanded the capacity of social actors to participate in process of media production, challenging the traditional boundaries between producers and audiences and contributing to a more fragmented and dynamic communicative ecosystem. Therefore, the top-down effects of mass media framing give way to the circulation of various frames in digital media. There are also some important technological changes to frame construction. Technological changes include the expansion of broadband access and the capacity to support real-time video, as well as the diffusion of image capture and post-production devices. The presence of digital camera, mobile devices, and the ease with which anyone can produce and reproduce videos affect framing disputes. Images produced by cameras tend to be taken as reality itself, creating an illusion of immediate sensory experience. Videos in which amateurs document reality produce a sense of truth, capable of contesting frames from traditional media or imposing their own friends on the public agenda. Media content increasingly addresses specific niches in a media ecosystem that contrasts with the earlier integrative trend of national public spheres shaped by the press, radio, and television. The infrastructure of digital platforms produces ideological enclaves that restrict information flow, generating what the literature calls filter bubbles and echo chambers. Platformized communication is therefore characterized by the creation of isolated, radically conflicting realities coexisting within the same political system. So, moving toward my final reflections, I put the question, who has the power to frame? The digital era does not simply bring a pluralization of voices or a confrontation of frames detached from social hierarchies. The power to frame has been redefined. Conventional media remain important, but they now compete with social actors who possess technical and media expertise, as well as mastery of algorithmic logics, which have become key power resources in framing disputes. Interest groups that master the grammar of digital networks to distribute content strategically to specific niches gain an advantage over their competitors. The economic dimension is no less important. Interest groups, parties, and social movements can now make use of technical expertise and financial resources. Framing dissemination depends on strategic audiovisual production, and its reach is maximized through investments that increase the visibility of media content in search tools and social network platforms. Frame circulation also depends on an element with the values and interests of social groups, which can now be strategically assessed through analytics tools capable of measuring and monitoring consumption and interactions, and of directing content toward presumed target group characteristics. The study of framing disputes in the digital age enables the development of a research agenda with diverse thematic possibilities. I can say here environment and climate issues, including natural disasters, public health communication, science communication, social movements and collective action, cultural conflicts, and so on. I highlight two areas of current relevance in public and academic debate. The first concerns what is being conceptualized as informational disorder, disinformation, post-truth, or epistemological crisis. The second concerns hyperpolarization, political radicalization, or political extremism. In both cases, what is at stake is the construction of views about reality, views that divide or even antagonize social groups. These phenomena show that interest groups have increased their framing power by becoming media emitters, capable of disseminating disinformation, or promoting propaganda and emotionally mobilizing social groups for their own interests and objectives. I'm just summarizing the main ideas of the paper that I sent before. Those papers and books are my reference here, and thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Fernando, for walking us through such an insightful presentation. I will now hand over the floor to Attila to initiate and lead the discussion on these two incredibly important and engaging presentations. Attila, over to you.
Thank you very much. And just to those who are following us on YouTube, there is a delay between our conversation here on the platform and the streaming on YouTube. So please feel free to type any questions or comments in the YouTube channel, and I will happily pick them up. But there may be a little bit of delay between the two. So please bear with us, be patient while we are reacting to your comments and your questions. But I suppose the best way to start is to have quick interaction with either of you, and then I have one question for both of you, and we'll see if we get some comments and questions from the audience in the meantime. So Alejandro, thanks so much. This is super interesting. I love anything genealogical, STS discourse analysis, everything that opens up and puts the phenomenon in a bigger context, historical context, so we can dig deeper, because I think there's a lot of superficialities being communicated, such as the inevitability of these developments. And we need to dig deeper to understand the underlying developments here. So I really, really appreciate your work. And just to kind of get us going in a discussion, I was wondering, so we have you have these two lists, right? We have the accelerationists on the one hand, and then the human resistance on the other. And I was wondering if this black and white thing, this reduction into these two camps itself is a hegemonic act, that you get rid of the nuance in between. And I was particularly thinking of the importance of science fiction for these accelerationists. So there's a lot of what we find acceptable. So the groundwork being laid for what we find acceptable in the future, I think, draws a lot on science fiction. Literally, a lot of these accelerationists literally use words and verbiage from science fiction literature, but science fiction itself is very, very nuanced about this. And I was wondering about the nuance between these two. So, for instance, I was thinking about the humane tech movement, like Tristan Harris, for instance, that tries to, like, we're not against it, but we're also not apocalyptic. We just want to make it work for humanity. And then other people like Morozov, who I was surprised that you put him in the accelerationist list, with his enshittification, which I think is it's a very cynical way of thinking about it. This is just the same shit as always. It has become a technical term, to use this piece of language. It's going to be the same. It's not going to work. It's going to work better for some people, not for others. And it's like, yeah, it's the same shit as every day. I would love to hear your thoughts about the nuance in between, especially because then in the end you brought in cosmotechnics, which I think is a way to bring in nuance. Thank you.
Yes, it's obviously a debate inside some fields. The cosmotechnics in philosophy, and in the case of Morozov, it's more a cultural critic that connects with other authors like Nicholas Carr or some or perhaps also Jonathan Haidt, no? But with different evidence. No? But my point in the paper is that the hyperpolarization is not triggered only by algorithms. It's not the manage of social media and platforms dealing with the public debate. It's also the problem of the symbolic field. Because with the launch of ChatGPT in November 2022, the debate changed. No, the public debate changed, mostly because some ideas that was in the exchange reign of Silicon Valley, like singularity, for example, or other ideas, became a public issue. And the idea of a general AI as a almost done thing, it's the how the public debate was framed. So today in politics, we find the connection between the far right, for example, especially in Argentina. I know it's difficult to understand from other countries, but also, for example, in the US and other countries, but also in other countries that, for example, nowadays in UK, with the ban of social media, or in the case of France, with Macron says, well, we will ban in defense of our child minds, for example, against the hegemony of China and the US. So science fiction has a point in that, but it's just a use of this science fiction. And my point is that we can use social science fiction in a different way, like Shuk Wade says, in a techno-diverse way, because the reality of the experience, the technological experience, is more diverse than the two ways view of the world that we are subject right now. So, but it's a practical thing when we try to train teachers. A teacher that does almost nothing about knows almost nothing about AI, and we need to literate them. Well, the problem is not just how to prompt. It's the problem is to connect AI with society and the future of the the children that they are trying to educate. So, I think, especially in the speculative methods, one paper it's related with social science fiction. That is a powerful idea of teaching sociology in the 90s that today's authors like Shen Ross are trying to updating.
No, thank you very much. It's good to hear there's a comeback of that, because I'm trying to do similar things in engineering and to open up that conversation. I'm just checking back and forth between us and the YouTube channel, but no questions so far. So Fernando, thank you to you as well for a great presentation. The framing issues, it's good to have somebody like Goffman pop up here and then. And funnily enough, the platform we are running this on, there is a front stage and a backstage, right? So that seems to be an evergreen, of course. So with you, I was particularly fascinated with bringing up this framing issues and how we are redefining. How did you write it? The power to frame has been redefined, as you said in your presentation. And I have a kind of a mixed question. It's a little methodological, a little bit conceptual, and that is specifically about how to cut the cake when you are engaging with media ecology, right? Because there is, in this way, everything's connected to everything. It's very difficult to kind of cut the cake in such a way that you can deal with a phenomenon practically, but also then make a bigger point that goes beyond that, which is true for everything, but particularly media ecology. And here, I was wondering two things, right? So on the one hand, we're talking about these new logics that are coming in. On the other hand, I was wondering, is there also some remediation going on? That we have old forms just in new, so old wine in new bottles. I'm, for instance, thinking of long form podcast, which is kind of like television interviews, right? Remediated. So what's new and what is remediated? I think it's a tricky, again, nuanced question of on how that plays into it. And then the other one is, again, also in terms of the power to frame, whether it is the same structure but new formation. So is it new players doing the same old thing, or is there qualitatively a difference because we are dealing with digital and digital technology?
So, sorry, Attila, can you say again the last question about the power to frame?
Yeah, so that was the power to frame, that it has been restructured, and whether it's a change of structure or is a change of the formation. So it's the same structure but new people, or is it really a new structure? So this all the new and what digital qualitative brings to the game. I'm very curious about hearing your opinion.
Thank you so much for your question, for your questions. Yeah, I believe you said about two main topics of my paper, that is media ecology and also power to frame. I believe that Goffman is the main reference to that who conceptualized frame, but his approach is regarding the interaction order, and he didn't develop empirical work on it, just in his book Frame Analysis and also Forms of Talk, but his concept was really useful for media sociology and also political communication. And in political communication, the media framing studies is devoted to is is so much related to agenda setting studies, and I believe that in the sociology of social movements, we have here uh, a sociological basis for framing analysis. So it's not centered on media, but it's centered on social actors, the disputes between social movements and the state, and also the media is important, but the question is how social movements capture the attention of media outlets. Now we have, I believe, a big change because social actors become media emitters. So that's the new thing, I believe so. And this is a question. So we have here a new agency. And it's important to understand social movements strategy, dealing with social networks, making videos, spreading videos in groups, in digital groups. But I believe that we have so much experience nowadays after the enthusiasm of social networks as it was viewed as a sign of democratization, etc. And we have to reflect on the power to frame. So we have here, of course, uh, we had at the past the power concentrated in the media to frame, and now we have different sources of frame in dispute. Of course, always we had it in the past, but now it's more dynamic and fragmented. But we have now to understand the power to frame. We have to understand the technological resources, the financial resources used by interest group, political actors, and of course, it's just a theoretical approach, and we had to analyze it empirically and see how it works in specific and contextualized objects. So I don't know if I could answer you, but that's my my thoughts on it.
It's a pity because I'm struggling with the same concept. So no, I didn't expect an answer. I was just, I guess, getting some reassurance that it's a big issue going on. So really appreciate both of you engaging in that conversation with me. So we have a question in the chat here on the StreamYard platform from Bandana. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And the comment is, these were two powerful papers. Thank you. I want to ask a speculative question. If you were to teach about the social construction of reality, how much weight would you give to the technological restructuring of, quote, the social? That is, should sociologists emphasize technology from the very beginning, question mark? I think so, but wonder what you think. If I give it to both of you.
Well, my first step was critiquing the theory of information society of Manuel Castells and the disconnection between the material infrastructure and the symbolic dimension. So I think that we need to integrate the social construction of reality with the socio-technical infrastructure. And we need to do that in two ways. In the analysis of media and the things that Fernando was presenting, because the materiality of algorithms frame public debate and different affects social movements and affects politics and so on. But also, my point is that we need to do that in the opposite direction. How the idea of technology feels or create a content that is the fabric of society. Because the idea of future is now constructions. It's the social construction of society. Where we are thinking not in the present, we are thinking every day in the society of 10 years ahead. So I think we need to think when we teach about the social construction of reality, we need to try to incorporate the concept of future.
Yeah, no, I'm also appreciated very much in your presentation that these things are only possible because they are taking place in the future, right? Fernando, what is your take?
Yeah, I thank you for the question, Bandana. I think it's an important concern following the reflections of our great conference yesterday. We have to avoid technological determinism. So I believe the question is how social groups act, and so social actors act, and of course there is a material base that you have to consider. So technological changes change the condition of agency and reconfigure the power relations to the agency. So I believe that we have to, as sociologists, to understand how at first how the power is reconfigured by material bases, including technology, and also to understand to understand the social action in this context. So I believe that this question is a good point to avoid technological determinism. Just this. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. How are we doing on time, Meenakshi? Can you give me a-
We are good with time. Do you want to ask one last question?
Let's see. Let me check the YouTube channel. There's no questions here. Yeah, you're welcome. Bandana just wrote, thank you. These exchanges are the efficient best part of conference. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Maybe one concluding question for the both of you. I'm really curious to follow up on, and that is you're both addressing in activism and bringing change, a positive change, also towards the future, and so forth. And I was wondering, and this is kind of like a more self-referential sociological question, is to which degree we are maybe over-relying on sociology that addressed industrialization issues, urbanization issues, and to which degree we need to, I'm not saying throwing it all out the window and we have to reinvent everything from scratch, but we need to expand our general sociological approach to contemporary questions, by which I mean digitalization in contrast to industrialization, similarities, but also qualitative differences. So the question is, to which degree do we need to maybe adjust our general sociological ways of thinking? Because I'm also a little bit worried that going back to making comparisons to the Gilded Age of industrialization, we kind of had the labor movement and so other movements to counter, mitigate that. And in today's world, we are kind of thinking these things will resolve by themselves because we already resolved them one time. So why should this time be different? And I'm worried that this time is going to be very different.
Alejandro, do you want to answer first?
No, go ahead, and then I will
You
follow
can
you.
you can go.
Okay, I go. Okay. Well, I said that my point, the starting point it was the critique of the theory of information society of Manuel Castells, but in especially the theory of development, the idea that it was a transition between industrial society and information society, and the problem is that this idea. The problem of this idea is that the reach point of this transition it's always on the movement. It's like moving target because information society was replaced by platform society, and then now we can say, well, we are in the AI society, for example. But I don't know. Maybe it's not a good idea. But uh, of course, uh, platform society, for example, Bandic idea, it's a good idea, but I think the thematization of that in the global south is that these hopes of this optimistic transition is well at least criticized by the theory of development. And nowadays we are facing, for example, authors like Recap that says, well, we are in the new dependent theory of information development, no, or the development of the information society. And I think that in that case, we are in the verge of different problems of development that are related with the environment, for example, but also, and I think the main issue now is the mental health, for example, and the ban of the social media and so on. So we need to reframe the discussion, and the point that you sign that it's the organizational dimension. It's very important because the mental health in children is related with in digital exhaustion in adults and in work in labor. And one author that works very well in that field is Paul Leonardi, that I didn't mention in my presentation, but I think it's also very important because the problem with the exhaustion of the digital in work and labor, it's all over the place, and it's a really big issue. So we need to think about that because the polarization of the discourse of the narrative does not give place for this kind of discussions and problematizations. And sociology need to find a way to give this discussion a place.
If I understood well your question, I believe that digital sociology really has to understand this. This is the maybe the main topic of digital sociology today is to understand a huge change in the structural change that is related to the structural change that was at the beginning of our discipline, sociology. That industrialization was the context in which the first sociologists were concentrated, and now we have to focus on these big changes, which that are structural changes. And I believe that Anna Rivoire conference yesterday was focused really on it. It was really interesting. And there's a thing that it's so difficult because and I believe that Manuel Castells said it on his main book, that we are facing a really fast change in society, and and many changes over changes, and it's a really challenging to theorize about it. But I'm sure that we are facing structural changes. We have a lot of authors naming it surveillance capitalism, platform capitalism, and other names, and we are dealing with this big challenge to name these big changes and fast changes that we are following in those, have been following those in those last decades. That's what I have to answer to you now.
No, I think it's a good place to conclude this part of the session. Thank you very much. It's really insightful. Also, really appreciate your work with genealogy and also returning to like concepts like framing and how these very fundamental, sociologically interesting concepts or also phenomena kind of fundamentally structurally reflect. So really appreciate all your work, and thank you for engaging with me and my questions and for your presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Attila, for guiding such a dynamic, stimulating debate discussions. So as we bring this session to a close, I must thank a few key people on the front stage and the backstage. So on the front stage, my deepest thanks to the presenters, Alejandro, Fernando, for your deeply engaging presentations, making the second session of the second midterm conference of the Working Group 10 so vibrant and enriching. Attila, thank you for leading the discussion and enriching the dialogue. A special thank you to Brela, who you cannot see on the screen, but she's doing a very important work at the backstage, ensuring that the technical support, the execution, connectivity remains completely seamless. And an event of this scale and in this modality is only possible through collective efforts, collective dedication. And I would especially like to thank the president of the Working Group 10, Richard Miscolci, who co-organized this conference alongside Elissa Mingo. So Richard and Elissa, thank you very much for giving us the platform. Finally, thank you to our global audience who have joined us from across the world, across various time zones. We know the conversations will keep on going in the WG10 platform, in the ISA World Congress next year in Korea. So thank you all, and please enjoy.